Hey everyone, this is Richard. I'm sitting here in Singapore with my good friend John. Know each other since 1987, 88.
Yep,
Graduated Cornell in 1991 and you were 90?
that's right.
So we've known each other for a long time. We've recently reconnected. I just had the trip of my life staying at John's villa in Bali, and I just wanted to take a few minutes of our combined time. We're about to embark on a new business venture together, and I think it's really cool as we document, our lives using social media and video and so on, to document this point in time, because we're both doing something that's really outside of our comfort zone, and yet we're really excited about it, and it'll be cool for us to look back on this video at some point and sort of be like, how naive we were, how right we were, how young we were. I don't know what we're gonna think, but if we don't commemorate it, we won't think anything. So I took some notes and we're just gonna talk about it a little bit, but basically I'm just gonna create some of this stuff for us to look back on, also preview some of the content that we're gonna create back when I get back to New York in the studio, give you guys updates, but hopefully some of you find this informational, educational, inspirational. Talk a little bit about the location and why that's interesting to develop a small boutique sort of.
So what we saw in 2008, 2009 was the promise of this area, and it wasn't a speculative play, but what we realized is that to develop large swaths of land, you have to have roads. So if you were to go to Uluwatu just 5 years ago, you're driving down a stone path, parking, and maybe a guy's there to take 50 cents for your parking, etc. Now that's a paved, sealed road with high-end surf stores, bikini shops, your vegan, organic coffee joints.
It's very cool.
So you see the whole area pick up. That's what I thought was the most interesting. When 3-4 years ago, maybe, which was the last time that I actually visited thoroughly the land, you would have to try to find the trail to get onto it. This time, as I went to Uluwatu and came back, I saw a pretty well-paved road just about 200 meters from the Uluwatu parking lot, and I was like, oh my God, that's our road. So, kind of set off something that I was like, wow, the time is ripe. In fact,
Totally.
you're actually reaching the period where, yes, you have, let's say, inflationary pegged appreciation of the lands, but now you're going to start accelerating, and that's what got me excited about maybe there's something that you can do with the land, and instead of flipping it now and getting your inflation pegged growth, you might want to be in a position to be able to hold it. That was at a minimum, right? That was my sort of worst case scenario that we can easily reach for. So you want the steeper part, which is
Right.
definitely coming now.
Yep.
Sealed roads in a developing country, big deal.
Yeah, this is raw land. I mean, it looks like, well, you can't see much because it's like a forest,
It's all
right?
overgrown, yeah.
But it's a hectare, which is 2.5 acres
Mm-hmm.
on a slope side. So I'm going to just start with some things that I think are important to us. And when I say us, it's John and Olivier, who's actually in Bali right now, so he can't be here on this. But I think we're all on the same page. And then I'd love to hear from your perspective some of the elements that you think would be important. And so to that end, I think the most important thing that I want to do is make something that I'm proud of and that feels true to me and my values, and that is good for the island and good for the people and is repeatable and sustainable. And so we're going to do things like an eco sort of approach, whether it's solar or recycling. We're going to have best practices and all that. We want it to be targeted towards people that want an experience and not just like a bed to stay in. We're going to target people that are both interested in surfing and yoga, so we're not just tied into like the seasonality of the swell or the conditions of the swell. I want it to have a really cool sort of like local vibe, with a modern twist on that. So like modern things like Wi-Fi, high-speed Wi-Fi, USB charging ports, things that make the modern sort of traveler feel really, really comfortable, but in the very traditional sort of old teak, joglo type setting. And then I want it to be like hip and cool and aspirational, where you walk into the lobby in the reception area, and maybe there's like a DJ spinning some music, and you get handed like a fresh fruit drink, and we know somebody who actually was a founder or investor in Juice Press and sold that, and now started a similar company in Bali. So like somehow we're pretty well connected, and that's sort of like the vision that I have. Look, this is outside of his comfort zone. This is outside of my comfort zone. But one of the things that I love to riff about with real estate is that you don't have to be married to any one plan. It can change, right? Like when John bought this plan originally, I doubt developing it was in the plan, or maybe it was just an idea. Then it was to flip it. Now we're talking about developing it. When we started talking about developing it, we started talking about selling parcels and or maybe even building villas and selling villas. And then we talked about maybe, managing those villas on Airbnb for the owners when they're not there using it, helping them monetize it. And then we were like, well, why do that? Why don't we own it? And then we can always sell it later. And so the point is, one of the nice things about actually owning real estate, besides the fact that it's a real asset, is that it's flexible. You can modify your plans. You can exit part of it. We could sell one villa and keep 10. We could sell 10 and keep one. There's no real structure to this as long as we have an idea and a vision. We're entrepreneurial, we're interested in maximizing our return, and we're going to be opportunistic. And there's very few investments that you can do that with. So if you buy an equity, for instance, a stock, you're either long or you're short it. You might sell some of it, but you keep some of it. But this is very different. We could say get rid of the small villas and let's build big villas. We could say get rid of the big villas and let's put small villas. And so the point is, one of the things I think keeps people outside of making some of these investments is they're not exactly clear on what the game plan is. And all I'm encouraging is to keep an open mind, start small, leg into it, let the market dictate to you what the opportunity set is, read what the market is desiring, and over time, if that need or desire changes, respond to it.
Yeah, I really like how we explored the latitude in this project. It was completely not in my mind that we would do something like this. So, if it was a 3-week trip in Bali, at the beginning of it, the land was actually hardly on my mind. Right? But then the way that things transpired, just as traders, which we are, we're always, we're not trying to carve out a linear path to things. You're actually trying to be circumspect at all times and go down each path as long as appropriate. So that, one thing that I think Rich didn't mention is that even though I'm not in the hospitality business, I understand it. That is a tough business. So for me, one of the reasons that pushed me over the edge of to get over my discomfort for the hospitality business is what's going on in Airbnb.
Right.
Week 1, I did not really understand what was going on in Airbnb, but I do see the disruption happening all over the world, whether it's Airbnb, Amazon, Uber, Lyft, any of these things, right? Everyone's, blockchains, etc., cryptocurrencies. I did understand that, but as I understood how Airbnb is manifesting itself as, what do you call it, like a micro democracy,
right,
democratization of assets, that's when I started to realize that as a return, this is much more enhanced than, let's say, my options 10 years ago, before Airbnb. That, I don't want to be a hotel operator in that sense. But in this sense, very interesting to me.
Yeah, and I think just have fun, right? Like, do what feels good, take the risk, be intelligent about it, don't push it, don't force anything, but at the same time be persistent and drive towards your vision and your goal. And it's going to be really interesting. We're going to continue to document this journey. We're at the very early dreaming stages. I'm sure there's going to be lots of hardship and things that we missed or overruns or delays, but
I would say that also, with 3 people, 3 primary partners inside this, just as a person who's led companies before, I think we all did a pretty good job of subduing our egos, subduing what we thought should be done with the property, and listening to options. And then when the options seemed like they're very presentable or very doable, we changed.
Yeah,
we
actually,
did, right?
We should spend a moment on that because that's pretty interesting. John and I were spending, it's interesting how you connect the dots. He and I are both leaders of organizations, and we manage teams and entrepreneurs. And we were talking about how sometimes ego gets in the way and you don't do a good deal because somebody objects for the wrong reasons. And next thing you know, we're talking about this deal, and without getting too specific about the deal, suffice it to say that Olivier had some cash constraints. I have some cash constraints. I'm going through a divorce right now, so I'm illiquid for a period of time. There was a need for money. I'm interested in the deal, and so like we sat down and said, okay, well, if any one of us puts our back up against the wall and says, I need this amount of money at this valuation, I need it by this date, the deal dies. And then you just sell the land, which we all agree is suboptimal. But if we can all like be very forward and creative and think about this, there's probably enough overlap that we can make it happen. And in the negotiation, we realized that that's like the best outcome for all of us. It's sort of when people raise money, which I have no experience doing in businesses, it's the concept of I'd rather own less of something much bigger that actually derives a lot more value for me personally than the pride of owning a lot more of something smaller. And we did a really good job of that, and I'm quite proud of that. And you guys were really helpful to me. I hope I'm being helpful to you. I hope I'm adding value to Olivier. And in that sort of mind frame, I think there's very few people that would actually get this deal done, given the myriad of illiquidity, constraints, problems, ego, insecurity.
Right.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Intent, all these things.
But I did just want to get this down on video while we're together. I fly later today to Italy, so my time with John on this trip is ended. But the nice thing about this deal and doing business with friends and on a team is this ensures that we're going to continue our relationship and grow it and see each other more. And I look forward to that too. He's been really helpful during a period of personal disruption is probably the best word, and shining a light on opportunity, and it's fantastic, and I really appreciate that, my friend.
You got it, brother.
All right, cool. So I hope you found this helpful and interesting and inspiring. Please go ahead and like the channel if you haven't subscribed, like the video, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe now, and join us over at our Facebook group as well, shorttermrentalsecrets.com, and we really appreciate your time and interest. And John, I really appreciate you, my brother.
You got it.
Thanks, my friend.